Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books, what a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together, what a yummy snack. PBJamz, yummy books and music. PBJamz, reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz.
Good morning or good afternoon, whenever you're joining us for PBJamz. We are so glad that you are here, and we're here today with Megan Hoyt, a fellow Carolina girl. So I'm super excited to be sharing today with her and with you. And she's going to be talking with us today about her brand new book called The Greatest Song of All, and it's all about Carnegie Hall and how it was saved by an amazing musician and activist. And so she's going to be chatting with us about that. It's a fabulous book. If you have not read it, you need to get it, and I'll link up everything below for how you can order your very own copy and some excellent activities to go along with that. This one is so full of excellent information that there's tons of activities that you can do in your music classroom or your regular classroom or at home with your family. So welcome, Megan. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, super exciting. Love it when I get to have Carolina folks on the show. So Megan and I haven't met before today, but we're super excited to be here chatting about her lovely book. And I always like to start off by asking Megan, how did the inspiration, the origin of this book? You talk a little bit about it in your author's note in your back matter, but how did you come up with this idea and how did it come to fruition?
I'm not sure where I saw it, but it started with this picture I saw somewhere online, or maybe in a documentary, about Valerie Harper. She was leaping across Broadway. I didn't know she was a dancer. I thought she was an actor, but evidently she started out as a dancer. There were all these people holding picket signs, and she was leaping high in the air. And I thought, what is that? And I didn't know that was Valerie Harper, and I didn't know she could dance. So I just started reading the article or whatever it was. Just, I wish I could remember. And I saw, they were going to tear down Carnegie Hall. And I had read this book about saving Grand Central. I think it was Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis had gotten some people together so that that building wouldn't get torn down, which actually happened after this with Carnegie Hall, I believe. So I thought, oh, wow, people were just tearing down buildings right and left, weren't they, over in New York in the 60s. So I started researching it. And then I remembered that my parents' first date was at the Carnegie Deli. And I thought, oh, this is cool. This is like a little tie-in because my parents were musicians as well.
Love that. And I loved, so when I was pulling some things for the Pinterest board that I'm going to link up, I found a picture of the Carnegie Deli, and I remembered your little snippet about that in the back matter. It was so cool. It's like, oh, that's where her parents met. So awesome.
Just recently, I was
Really?
there, I think 2018 or something. It
Yeah.
actually closed permanently. And that Christmas, my husband got me a bunch of, because he knew I loved it, he got me a bunch of things like an apron and a mug and a t-shirt.
Aw.
So I have all this Carnegie Deli stuff too, just sitting around my house.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So, as a writer, when we write a first draft and then we get to publication, there's a lot of changes. How much did this story change from that first draft to the version that we're seeing today?
A lot. I was trying. Okay, so picture this. One side of that's left, right, left. This is my left hand. One side of the page was going to be the history of Carnegie Hall, and the other side of the spread would be Isaac Stern, like.
Right, a side by side, yeah.
I was going to have it all coordinated. So I did about 5 spreads, and it was beautiful. And then I realized, oh, when he reaches Carnegie Hall, it intersects, and then there's there's nothing more that doesn't involve Carnegie Hall. So as Carnegie Hall moved forward, he was there. So it completely fell apart. And I didn't know quite what to do with that. I sat on that for like 3 years, just not, I didn't work on it that long. I just set it aside. I was like, oh, I can't figure out this parallel text thing. I had read a book by Hannah Holt that had, I think her grandfather, his story was on one side, and then the story, I'm going to get it wrong. He was a geologist or something, but like it paralleled. And I just, kudos to her. I could not figure out how to do that. So there was a lot of changes, and it would have been too long anyway.
Gotcha. Well, the version that we have is absolutely beautiful. And obviously the music connection is, it's broad and beautiful in this book. There's so much musical connection, but what stands out to you as maybe the strongest musical connection, or what would you like for us to know about the musical connections in this story?
Well, first of all, it's so important to value the arts. I don't know what all the STEM thing is about. I mean, I love STEM, don't get me wrong, but could we STEAM it? Like there's never it's always like, okay, well, our budgets are tight, we better cut the art teacher, or, let's not have an orchestra in middle school or whatever. I don't know where, was it North Carolina or somewhere they just eliminated all the orchestra programs? I think it was North Carolina, because my daughter played violin, and they just start in high school now. Well, if you don't start young, you're not going to be that good when you're in high school.
Right.
So that was a mistake. But I just feel like it's always the first thing to go. And then same with Carnegie Hall, I felt like, why would anyone ever tear down this building? But then also the fact that they turned it into a center for children, for education, and now kids look forward to that. Like, I don't know, not every school can go, but some people get to actually go and perform at Carnegie Hall, and it's a really whopping big deal to them. And my kids didn't do it, but I have a friend who moved to New York, and he went there, and it had always been his dream. He's an opera singer, and he was just standing there, and there was I guess janitor or maintenance man or something, and he said, go ahead. So he went up on the stage and he sang to no one but the janitor. But it's just, there's something about it. So anyway, musical connections, I just went off the deep end answering that, and I probably didn't really, but it's in my heart. My parents were symphony musicians. I just poured out my connection into the book, and it's all about the music.
It is. It really is all about the music. And those are excellent points. I don't think you went off topic at all. I think that those are excellent points, that it's really all about valuing the music. And that's exactly the theme of this book, is valuing the music, and also valuing the places and programs and opportunities that allow us and teach us to value the music. And I have a friend at our local museum who he and I were just talking a couple of weeks ago about when he was in high school, and they went to Carnegie Hall, and their high school band got to play there at Carnegie. And I mean, what an amazing thing to be able to do. And for those of you who may not know, there's like an amazing Carnegie Hall music educator program. They have tons of free resources. So all that's going to be linked up in the links section below. Just amazing opportunity and resources that they offer for arts teachers, music specifically, but others integrated as well. And that point keeps coming up in PBJamz over and over and over with so many of the people that I talk to. Like, we need to value the arts in our schools, and you're right in that we're setting the stage for what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And if we don't provide those opportunities at an early age for them to experience music and learn to love it, then it's going to be a non-issue for them later. So we have to get it into them early. And you're also right in that if we don't start them learning early, they're not going to be good enough to be competitive in the musical market if they decide that's what they want to do.
Yeah, it was very short-sighted when that happened. Something else I wanted to mention, when I was doing my research just on Carnegie Hall, I noticed one of the programs they have is to help impoverished moms, single moms, connect with their children by learning how to write a lullaby. And I thought that was just the most precious thing. I don't know if they're still doing that or if it was just like a 1-month thing they did one summer or something, but they're really trying to reach people with music education as well. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah. Awesome. Yes, definitely. So one thing that stood out to me when I read the book was the figurative language in the story. Is so beautiful, so many lovely turns of phrase and such rich, deep figurative language. So does that come naturally to you? And if not, how did you integrate it in, and what tips maybe do you have for the other authors who are watching for how they can enrich their figurative language?
Well, I know people say this all the time, but the answer to that is, I think, to read and read and read and read. You know, when you want to write a picture book, you need to read 100 picture books and really let it seep into your soul. Right. And then it's just sort of there and it pours back out of you. I know that sounds, you know, like hippie or something, but when you have it in you, it will come out onto the page. And so read lyrical picture books. One of my favorites is called Swan by Laurel Snyder, and I can't remember who illustrated it. It's just gorgeous. And Bluest of Blues, I can't remember if that's the right title, but mostly read. And when I was younger, I read what I call living books, just books that come alive and almost leap off the page with the description. Like for me as a child, it was The Secret Garden. And it was also my parents. They were stuffy musicians and they wouldn't let me read just, you know, Nancy Drew or something. And I was really frustrated. They wouldn't let me watch certain TV shows or read certain types of books, but then it's in you. That poetry is in you and it comes back out. I wish I could say there's a magical way to learn to do this. Obviously use a lot of imagery. Brian Jakes, who wrote the Redwall books, he used to say writing is painting a picture with words, and that really is it. So you just have to find the right words and use a thesaurus if you can't find them yourself. Just, you know, I need a word for this, and it's all on the internet.
That's right. Yeah, we have the world literally at our fingertips. Excellent tips. And yes, it's really beautiful, the figurative language and the literary devices that you've used. Really lovely, rich language.
Thank you. I'm hoping on the first spread that people, I mean, if they don't know, they don't know, but Tchaikovsky conducted the first concert there, and I used some little Swan Lake references. I don't know if kids will get it, but hopefully somebody will.
Yeah, it was lovely. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about the research and the back matter. What do you want us to know about that? What would you want people to know about the level, the intensity, the sources?
The research was actually really exciting and fun. I went to Carnegie Hall. I met with the archivist there. Rob Hudson, the associate archivist, helped me. I mean, they had to meet me downstairs and then take me up an elevator that, you know, not everybody gets to go up in Carnegie Hall. And then the archive is pretty extensive. So he said, here you go. And he brought out these boxes and I was like, oh, I only have one afternoon. So this is interesting. So I just started going through it all, and there were newspaper clippings and letters. And I mean, there was this letter, I wish I could have put it in the book, but I couldn't find the woman to get her permission. She was a child then. A thank you letter to Isaac Stern for saving Carnegie Hall, because she had gone to a concert there when she was really young, and she was only 11 at the time she wrote the letter. And it was so precious, and they kept that. And then I got to see the trowel that they used to dig for the first cornerstone, and an autographed picture of Tchaikovsky when he was there, and yeah, it was really exciting. So that was
I feel
wonderful.
like you did a good job though, bringing it down to a level where kids can grasp at least the gist of it. And that's the job of teachers and parents too, is to help them sort out any of those pieces that might be a little bit over their heads. But a great way.
Times.
Yeah, a great way though to introduce activism to our kids too, and being willing and able to stand up and speak for things that can't speak for themselves. I think about the Lorax. I speak for the trees, and so yeah, but speaking for things that can't speak for themselves. So that's another layer, and that's one thing as authors we talk about all the time is adding in those layers. So not only do you have the beautiful layer of the Carnegie Hall story itself and Isaac Stern as a musician, but then this layer of activism, layered on top of that, which is really, really fabulous.
I had hoped to keep that personification of the hall as well, because I had it, it had feelings. I had to eliminate that whole side story. But looking back, I think that would have made it a little, I don't know, silly to personify the hall. But I do feel like it's just so beautiful. Like I wanted it to have a personality. Hope it still came through.
Oh, I think it did. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Is there anything that we haven't? So, I mean, we've covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time, but is there anything that I haven't asked about that you think, oh, I really wish people knew this about the book or the research or any part of this journey?
Well, there's actually one thing that I never addressed. Isaac Stern was Jewish and came over to escape persecution. Actually, his family did. He was 10 months old. But the person that I have kind of staged as the villain, this man who was all about grids and traffic and like making New York into this perfectly, like he would have a park here, a series of whatever, like office buildings here. He was just very precise. He was very left-brained, I guess. Robert Moses, but he was also Jewish. And so I'm like, and I'm half Jewish. My father was Jewish. So I have this Jewish hero, but I also have this Jewish villain. And I don't really like that as far as anti-Semitism is concerned. But really, it does make the point that we're all human beings. We're not this or that or this. And his religion had nothing to do with it. He just saw the world in grids. And he saw all this population that he wanted to order, and this building has to be torn down to make this happen because the grid has to go like this, so he's not actually a villain, but to Carnegie Hall, he kind of was.
Right.
So I want to clarify that, because after I wrote it and it got purchased and everything, I thought, oh, but he's also Jewish and I've got this villain here. But he thought he was doing good, I guess.
I think that's super important. I think that's true in so many cases. And I think it's a message that's, really important for our world right now, to say just because you're on one side of an issue or another side of an issue doesn't make you a bad person. It is just a different way of looking at the world. And
there are bad consequences, and it couldn't be predicted, I guess.
right.
In this case, he probably knew, because Lincoln Center was going up down the street.
Yeah.
And Carnegie Hall was competition. But still, you're so right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good message. And I think too, one of the things I always try to teach my students is that, no matter what our race or our culture or what, there are good people and bad people in every single walk of life, no matter what, how you want to divide us up. There's good and bad on every side. And we just need to strive to be the kind of people that leave a good mark behind. And I think that's, what Isaac Stern was trying to do, but it is probably also what Moses was trying to do in a different way. Yeah.
And I think when I think we have a unique opportunity with music as well. It soothes the savage beast or whatever they say, but also it kind of can bring people together.
Absolutely.
Back when I was young, We Are the World, a bunch of singers got together and wrote this song and tried to raise money to feed the poor and everything. Like, there is a way that you can come together with music that I think other mediums don't really work as well. And just, definitely not just picketing in the streets or whatever. Sometimes, like, if you can write a really poignant song,
Yeah.
it makes all the difference, I think.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Music is definitely a unifying force. And, we talk all the time that music is that universal language. And I think that's why it does become such a unifying force, because every culture, the music may sound different and the messages may be slightly different, but every culture engages in music. And so that tends to be a really good place to be able to come together. And maybe that's a message that our world really needs to hear right now too, is, music is one of the healing powers of our universe, and we need to use it well.
Definitely.
Excellent points. Um, so talk to us about what's coming up next for you. Is there any news that you can share in terms of your publishing journey right now?
Well, yes. I ironically have another New York building book coming out about Grand Central Station, in fact, but not about saving it necessarily, about how it was constructed and who came up with the idea. And, kids love trains.
Yes, they do.
So it's going to be really great. I'll butcher his last name, but Dave Saleh is our illustrator, and it really looks wonderful. And then after that, I have a biography of Dr. Kathleen Carico, who came up with mRNA technology. She was instrumental in developing this new way of vaccinating that ended up being really strategic in the fight against COVID-19. So, but she worked on it for 30 years and barely scraping by and just finding a corner of a lab somewhere here and there to do her research, because everybody thought she was just nuts. Like, what? How are you going to do this? But then she just plugged away at it, and then ended up just really recently earning a lot of awards for her assistance there. So that's coming. I have a Jewish book coming out, actually, that hasn't been announced, and a couple more in the works. So
Wow. Busy lady.
yeah, it's awesome.
Lots going on. Yeah, that's fabulous. Lots of good stuff. So you guys keep your eyes open for Megan. She has lots more things in the works. And thank you, Megan, for being here with us today. We have enjoyed our chat about the greatest song of all. And guys, if you have not read it again, let me just highly encourage you. There's the cover. It's an absolutely beautiful book. The illustrations are beautiful. Megan, give a shout out, if you will, to your illustrator and the publisher.
I don't know if you see Katie Hickey illustrated, and it's for HarperCollins imprint Quiltree Books, which I love my editor, love everyone there.
Awesome. So we always want to give credit to those folks that are part of the journey of the book as well. So it's, as you can see, it's a gorgeous book. The words are just as beautiful. The message is beautiful. It's multi-layered. So remember that one of the ways that you can support our authors is by requesting their books from the library, as well as ordering copies. And just word of mouth too. So if you enjoyed this episode, share it with somebody, share Megan's book, pass it along to a music teacher in your world, or a family who loves music, or maybe a family who needs to love music and doesn't yet. So people that are heading to New York City for a visit will be a great way to kind of lay some groundwork for that. So if you have a vacation coming up, then make sure you grab that book as well and prepare the way for that. So thanks again, Megan, for being with us. Thanks to all of you for being here today and checking this book out and our conversation. Make sure that you are engaging in music somewhere along the way. Make sure your kids are finding a way. Advocate for music in your schools. Music is a universal language and a healing power. So with that, we're going to close things out today. Thanks for joining us on PBJamz, and we'll see you next time.
PBJamz, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz, songish books and bookish songs, tips for music teachers, interviews and book reviews, a little singing